Patch 11.1 Undermined, coming soon-ish. We do not have an active PTR yet. We are not expecting this until the new year. However, we do have some data mining, and I just wanted us to look at sort of some of the profession-related stuff, what we have and what we don't have coming in this update, just from what we can gather so far. Important here, this is data mining. Like I said, we don't have a PTR yet, so don't base gold making decisions off what we talk about today. Basically, we're going to quickly talk about what I've managed to find when it comes to new profession recipes, new materials, profession respecs, all of what is and what isn't coming in 11.1. Firstly then, for leatherworking, we have a new armor kit. Nothing really special to say here. It gives all stats and stamina, so it could well end up being besting slot for everyone, potentially even casters as well. You know, because I'm sure you tailors wanted even more good news. So we'll have to see how that all works out. At the moment, it's actually giving less stats than the current leatherworking leg enchants, but I imagine, in fact, I'm 100% sure it's going to at least be BIS for everyone that uses the current leatherworking leg enchants. Probably won't be BIS for casters, but you never know. You know, like we said, just what tailors needed to hear. At the moment, this recipe is listed as costing 150 arts and security. From the new reputation, makes it fairly easy to get. Just do the content and you will get this over time. Concentration wise, this is probably not going to really be worth it. The materials that go into all the leatherworking stuff, they're just too cheap, too easy, and that's what's made leatherworking, you know, fairly crappy for concentration so far in this expansion. It looks like engineers are going to be able to craft at least one item for the new car mount things that we are getting in 11.1. Blizzard said there could be various ways to improve this car, and it looks like that's going to include engineering crafts at least. Every single person who is playing in 11.1 is gonna want one of these, because it's going to make just the car mount thing as good as possible, and it's going to be like the only mount thing that you can really use in the new zone. It's only needs some basic engineering parts and some rusted scrap to craft this, so nothing too complicated. And like with the armor kit from Leatherworking, this currently just costs 150 arts and security from the new reputation vendor in 11.1. Now on to Inscription next. A few weeks ago, I did a video talking about the current best concentration builds, and my conclusion was that enchanting was still the best, although the gap had obviously narrowed significantly, but Inscription was doing okay and potentially one for the future. In patch 11.1, we have a new contract and we have a new Vantus room. Like with all the previous recipes, these unlock 150 arts and security from the new reputation vendor in 11.1. Nice and simple. With Warband Reputation, you can easily get these on your rolls once sort of your main has sort of ground out that reputation. Vantus Room will do fine, as they always do. It will do Vantus Room things. From a concentration perspective, that will do sort of okay for the majority of the patch. The contract I'm more interested in, especially from a concentration perspective. People will want this reputation. They will use the contracts for reputation like they did at the start of the expansion. In fact, the numbers of these sold could actually be much higher than the start of the expansion, because at the start of the expansion you have 4 different reputations that you can choose for your contract. When this patch releases, you will only have 1. So even though the player base is probably slightly less than it was at the start of the expansion, the fact that everyone's going to be funneled into one contract means that the sales could be, could be significantly higher than they were for the individual contracts at the start of the expansion. Now, the reason these are so appealing from a concentration perspective is that they cost so much to craft. So it costs 25 shadowing. That is a lot of rank 3 shadowing. I think when I quickly looked at the price difference between 25 rank 2 and 25 rank 3 shadowing was sort of several thousand gold at the current market prices. It feels like this could potentially be a nice gold maker from a concentration perspective. And then when eventually the contracts do stop selling, you can quite easily pivot into a Vantus room, just using your concentration on Vantus rooms instead, because you can basically do the same things with the same build So you sell the contracts while they're good, and then switch to Vantas sort of later on when there's sort of less demand for those contracts. I think the most important thing here is how quickly you get that contract unlocked. You're one of the first people to get this unlocked, and you have an army of Inscription concentration characters sort of ready to go. Can buy that recipe straight away and just chuck out a load of those. Then it could be worth a decent amount of gold. But if you're sort of like a couple of weeks behind the guys that managed to do it first, then it's not going to have sort of the same profit margins on it. So potentially, based on what we can see here, Inscription might be a little nice earner in 11.1 if you can get it unlocked early enough. But once again, like I said, this is very early build. It's not worth setting up characters or any professions or anything like that yet, because once we have a proper build, we will have a better idea of what is going on, and you will still have weeks and weeks and weeks of time from then to get everything set up for the new patch if that is something that you want to do. And basically, that is all the recipes I could find in the current data mining so far. So what that means, as you may have noticed, we have no new materials at the moment. Now, like I said, doesn't mean we're not getting any, just means there's not any in the current of data mining. Now, I've said this quite a bit on stream, but if we want concentration profit margins to go crazy again, what we needed is we needed a new material, and that material had to have ranks in it. So that means like we had a new ore or a new herb, then the rank 3 versions of that would be significantly expensive, like be really expensive from a new zone that's, there's none of this stuff in the game, and then people have to farm it from scratch. That makes that material very, very expensive. And anything that used that material that you could craft with concentration would be a very profitable concentration craft for quite a while. So at the moment, it doesn't look like we're getting that. Now, we still could potentially get one. The other thing we could potentially get like we have in Dragonflight, where we've previously been getting sort of a rare material. Now, they didn't have a rank on it. Now, materials that don't have a rank on it are not good for concentration characters, because what that means is if that goes into a craft, then a concentration and a non-concentration character, it's adding the same to the crafting cost for both of them. So it is not a benefit to concentration crafters for that, because basically it's bringing them closer to what a regular crafter has in their crafting costs, which is not what they want. They want the difference to be as big as possible. But from what I can see at the moment, we don't have any of that. We don't have any new ranked materials and any new non-ranked materials, but we'll just have to see what happens, because like I said, this is still very early at this stage. Profession Respec definitely looks like it's coming. We have several strings suggesting that this is the case. Now, this is obviously good for the game as a general thing and helpful to, and will be helpful to some players when the patch hits. That being said, and I've talked about this before, but we need to be cautious when it comes to profession respecs. So if we have profession respecs at the start of any expansion, it is extremely abusable, and it will become the meta to use profession respecs in a certain way to min-max professions. And like with stuff like the Arts and Security Shuffle, if this is something you do not want to do, then you will be behind everybody else. So I think profession respecs are great, but like I said, we need to be cautious about what we want in the game. Like, I am someone that will min-max the heck out of everything. So this profession respec being in from the start of an expansion would be great for me, because I will just do everything. But I think for the general player base, even though it might sound like it's a bad thing for the general player base, to have profession respecs get introduced in the first patch in a new expansion will be better for most players than having it in from the start, where it's going to just benefit the top sort of 1% of people that will go absolutely crazy and do everything to min-max professions sort of to the min-max. And if that's something you don't want in the game, then you probably don't want that profession respec to be in the game, at least like until sort of a month into the expansion, when all that min-maxy stuff is having less of an effect. So anyway, overall then, this is just a taster of what is coming in patch 11.1 from a profession perspective. Hopefully, Blizzard will add more in. We expect the PTR to be going up in the first week of January from what we've said so far. So expect me to be streaming and making videos from all of that as we get to it. If you want to be watching that streaming, my Twitch is sort of linked in the description below. And if you guys haven't joined the Gold Making Community Discord, where we will be talking about a lot of this stuff as it hits live, there's a link to that in the description below as well. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.